Welcome to Successfully Indigenous, the podcast that guides professionals through the changing world so you can find your own way and your own path to your success.
Coming to Canada, if I'm being honest, it was difficult to get jobs and all that, because I don't have Canadian experience. That is one of the problems that you face as an immigrant when you come to Canada because um, you need Canadian experience. That is what one of the requirement that they ask you. Do you have Canadian experience and all that?
And it's
So
proxy often for Canadian connections.
yes. So I was like, okay, what can I do right now, to pay bills because I have bills to pay and I have seen a lot of things. So right now I am also working on something because I've seen the gap in Canada right now, seeing the gap. So I'm working on something. But even as I work on those things, how can I pay bills? So I said, okay, I have the skill, photography and videography. Not just photography, I do videography too. So um okay, so can I use that right now to pay my bills, sort some things while I work on some of the ideas that I have in Canada that can solve problems? So that was how I, transition into photography right now.
Well, I see the creative mind spinning. One of the things I wanted to chat with you about is I understand you founded a charity that
Yes,
provides school uniforms.
yes.
We like to leave listeners and viewers with some senses of organizations they can get on board with and make the world a better place. Tell me what
Yeah.
you're trying to solve.
So let me go back a little bit. I am not from a rich home, like that. So some of those things that affected me while I was very young was my uniforms are not always the best amongst my peer. And when it is time for school debates, school competition and all that, all people want, so schools want the best students
Mhm.
to represent the school. And they also want the clean, the neat students to also represent because that is like a facade of what you see when you see the students. Yeah. So most of
And
the
the
time I don't
uniforms
get.
in Nigeria are kids actually wear school uniforms.
Yes, we wear school uniform. And most of the times I don't look good in my uniform because my uniform are either not so new or not so neat and all that. And that deprived me of some opportunities because I was bright, I was brilliant, but because of my appearance, I don't get some opportunity. I don't get to go for school debates and and all sorts. So that affected me and it affected my confidence also. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, is it that I'm not so brilliant? Are these other children more brilliant than I am? And in the long run, I found out that it wasn't that. It was just that the school wanted the best students to represent the school and all that. So, and that is what I'm trying to solve, solve the problem of uniform for young people because they don't have control over that. Even if their parents are not so rich to, solve that problem, solve the problem so that they can have an equal opportunity, to
Well, and
compete.
it is a structural barrier, right? And it's one of the things that's in Canada when schools adopt uniforms, they talk about it being to unify so that the kids who don't have as much money as some of the other kids fit in. But
Yes.
yeah, kids are very adept at and adults at
Yeah.
figuring out that nuance, even when everybody's dressed theoretically the same. You have this, I don't know, this earring or this shoe, and it's slightly different, therefore you're not in the clique. So I applaud you for solving it, and I love the way your charity does the photography so that the kids truly don't, you're not the kid in the photo is not so when there's photos of the uniforms, there's never actually a photo of a kid in a uniform. It's a photo of you in the uniform, which is
Yeah.
not only brilliant marketing, but
Yes.
it's just from a end user perspective,
Yes.
very empowering for the kids. You've crossed the line between founder, employee, large organization, right?
Yes.
You've been both at various times. What are some of the things you consider, whether or not you're going into an employee relationship or just going off and founding something yourself?
One thing that has worked for me is I think it is best for you to understand what founders do, what it means to be a founder. So I've been a founder one time and the business failed because at that time I wasn't ready to be a founder. I just love the idea of having control of my time and all that. And I
Beautiful.
went into it and it failed because I didn't learn, but at that time, I didn't learn what is needed to be a founder, how you're going to get your businesses, how you're going to position yourself, what you need to do, how to communicate with people, your customer, and all that. I didn't know all those. I just love the idea of having control of my time. I think the best way to do it is to work for an organization, to understand how organization work, to understand structure to an extent, to understand communication, to understand, then you take those skills that you learn from that organization, then you take it and put into your own organization if you want to. But again, the most important thing about being a founder or anything is there a problem you're trying to solve? If there's no problem you're trying to solve, then it is, you have 90% chance of your organization failing and all that. So is there a problem? Are you able to solve it? Do you have the right skill to solve it? If not, yeah, what do you need to do? Do you need to upskill? Do you need to learn? What do you need to learn? Who do you need to speak with and all that? And that's very important. So that's the advice I would give because along the line I learned um those transferable skills that you can now cascade and bring into your own organization. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then what problem are you trying to solve is so important. There's a tech generalist, Kara Switzer, who always starts with her projects. Does anyone want this? Right? Which
Yes.
is the core problem, right? Is there a problem to be solved? One last question for you for our viewers who run businesses or are further advanced in their careers than some of our other listeners. You've led creative teams and you've led traditional teams. It's, I love leading creative teams. It's a different dynamic. Are
Yeah.
there things in your opinion that leaders of traditional teams should learn from leaders of creative teams?
Okay, yeah. So leading creative team is very different. And so, but one thing I can say is either you leave creative teams, or you leave the normal team or any team that you lead. I think the most important thing is creating clarity for the people you lead. That is very important to me, and that is the question I ask myself: why this, why this? What do I need to do to make this person better? It is about creating clarity, not turning their ideas down, because I can speak from the creative angle. It is very difficult, to give feedback to a creative person because, they've thought about it, the way it comes to them, they've brought it out. It took time and everything. So what I try to do is not to say what you've done doesn't make sense or it is not. I try to create clarity even before we start. That is my job, to make you understand what you need to do. So either creative team or the regular team or any team that you lead or even yourself is about clarity first before any other thing.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the program and providing such insights to our audience and sharing your experience. You are I know you said at one point you didn't want to be a jack of all trades, but you are a juggling many things in the creative and the systems thinking and the problem solving space beautifully. So it's a pleasure to
Yeah.
have you on the show, TJ. Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Successfully Ambiguous. Be sure and subscribe to us on YouTube and listen to us on Apple and Spotify. If you've got career questions, be sure to email me at successfullyambiguous@yorku.ca. Don't forget, when opportunity knocks, be ready to answer.